New players have a lot to process in Baldur's Gate 3, especially if you've never touched 5th edition D&D. And if you're playing solo, you're going to have to be juggling 4 brand new characters at once, learning their mechanics and an avalanche of information. So naturally, everyone wants to know what class they should play. Let's scratch off a few options from the list immediately, because you're going to have companion options available for these classes within the first hour or two of gameplay. Namely Fighter, Cleric, Rogue, Wizard, Warlock, and Barbarian. If you want to double up on these classes, more power to you, but since we can access them so early in the game, you might not want to feel like you wasted your player character slot when a companion is already filling that role. Of the remaining options, I would encourage new players to start off by playing a Paladin for its ramping skill set that doesn't overwhelm the player, strong frontline presence, surprising utility, and baseline stat bonuses. Let's start off by the fact that Paladin is pretty simple to play when you're just getting started. If you see an enemy, go bonk them on the head with your hammer until their health bar hits 0. You can spend spell slots, wink, on extra damage if you're feeling spicy, or even use a bow if they're too far away. When a Paladin runs out of smite slots, they still feel useful in combat by providing a hulking wall of AC and hit points for enemies to go crashing into. You are still useful even if you're just standing around. The Paladin's Lay on Hands feature is one of the most reliable methods of healing in the game, offering healing that doesn't eat into your party's spell slots and gives the exact number of hit points you're expecting every single time. If you are sick of rolling low on a 3rd level spell slot's worth of Cure Wounds, then a Paladin will be your best friend. If you get sick of Shadowheart being a 15-year-old Tumblr girl and kick her out of your party, your Paladin can spend smite slots on things like Bless, Shield of Faith, and Cure Wounds for that extra bonus of utility. Paladin's access to heavy armor and multitude of weapon proficiencies also lend it to being extremely versatile. You don't have to worry about whether your character can wield a weapon effectively and can make use of pretty much every in-combat item in the game that you come across without a penalty. This awesome in-combat toolkit is combined with being a charisma caster, meaning that Paladins will sail through speech check with relative ease, a huge bonus in any RPG setting. Depending on your oath, you'll also enjoy a good number of fun dialogue options, mostly featuring the Oath of Vengeance Paladin telling his enemies how he's going to grind their face into powder and fertilize the ground with their entrails. Being a default strength character also means bonuses to your jumping distance, which is extremely useful in BG3. High strength also means you can cheese plenty of boss fights by simply pushing people off edges into bottomless pits and letting gravity do all the heavy lifting. This gameplay does ramp up over time, but in a way that progresses naturally and feels manageable, while also evolving to make you feel more powerful over time instead of plateauing into underwhelming upgrades. For subclasses, it's really hard to go wrong here, so feel free to pick any that looks interesting to you, but I would heavily suggest going Paladin of Vengeance. Inquisitor's Might is really nice at early levels, a Vow of Enmity is amazing on boss fights, the spell list that Vengeance gets is insanely powerful, it's an all-around powerhouse. Devotion is, in my opinion, a bit dull compared to the other options. Ancients is nice for the extra healing, and having Speak with Animals is very fun in this game. Oathbreaker is fine, but requires some extra steps to unlock, so don't really worry about that if you're just getting started. The subclass you choose is really a personal preference, and the raw strength of the baseline Paladin features will be enough to carry you through the game without many issues. So, what class should you play? Well, the unhelpful answer is whatever looks fun to you because everything is viable, but the short answer, in my humble opinion, is a Paladin of Vengeance, and play a Zariel Tiefling for extra smites if you really want to get your hand held. But what class would you recommend to new players? If there's one thing I know about the D&D community, it's that everyone has an opinion. So why don't you tell me yours in the comments below? Thanks. Have a good one.